Hello everybody, I'm Miss Lisa and welcome to Kids Day at the MAC. This is our second virtual Kids Day, so although we normally have Kids Day on every last Saturday of the month, today for the second month in a row we are having virtual Kids Day. So I'm actually filming this from home, but hopefully we'll get back to the MAC soon and we can continue our tradition of Kids Day on the last Saturday of the month. Today I want to show you how to do a little bit of origami. Origami is a paper folding art form. You can make many different shapes with origami, and traditionally you start out with a square piece of paper. Most origami patterns and projects involve square pieces of paper. Very, very occasionally, you may have something with a rectangle, but for the most part, you start with a square piece of paper. Now, if you don't have a square piece of paper, it's all right because I will show you how to fold a piece of printer paper. This is a normal piece of printer paper. We are going to start out with this piece and I'll show you how to make 6 different squares from your printer paper, and each of those squares can be used to fold an origami cat or dog face. So this is what we're going to be doing today. I'm going to show you how to fold cat head, and you can see the cat has the ears sticking up. I will also show you how to fold the puppy dog, and the puppy dog head has his ears flopping downwards. And both of these dogs have little spots on their ears. Now there's 3 things to remember when doing origami. The first one we've talked about already. Do you remember what shape the paper is going to be when we start folding? If you said square, you are correct. Origami most always starts with a square piece of paper. The second thing we have to remember when we do origami is that you want your creases to be very precise. And if you don't know what a crease is, let me show you. If I take this piece of paper and I fold it and I do this to it, this is the crease, the line that runs down the center that we made by folding the paper and then rubbing on the fold. That creates the crease. Now sometimes in origami we use the crease to change the shape of the paper. So we started with a square and we folded it over like this and creased it, and now we have a triangle. So we're using the crease in this case to change the shape of the paper, and then sometimes we use the crease as a guideline, and I'll show you that in a little bit later. So this crease, we open the paper up, and now we're going to use it in a way that this line is helping us to do the same thing on one side of our paper as we do on the other side. So it helps us keep some symmetry. Symmetry means one half is going to look like the other half. So with that, we went through the shape of the paper. We're going to start out with a square. We talked about our creases. We want to make them very precise. And we talked about how the crease can be used for 2 different things. It can change the shape of the paper, for example, changing a square into a triangle, or it can be used also to create guidelines that will be used in the process of folding whatever it is that we are making. So here we go. Let's start out with that rectangle piece of paper and let's turn it into a perfect square. How do we do that? Miss Lisa is going to show you how now. We are going to take one corner of the paper and we're going to bring it up, 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 up until it meets the edge on the other side of the paper. And now with my other hand, I'm going over here to the point that's created, and I want to make sure that that point is as perfect as possible. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time making sure that's a nice pointy point. And then this paper here, I can move back and forth. If I creased it right here, that is not a precise fold because this part of the paper is hanging over. But if I creased it right here, now you can see I've made a very straight, precise fold that is allowing this side of the paper to be matched up with the paper underneath, to be matched up with this edge perfectly. And so what do we have now? We have a piece of paper that's folded over like a triangle shape, and we have a rectangle shape remaining. Now what we're going to do is get rid of this rectangle. If it's easier for you, you can take a ruler and just draw a line along the edge of the folded paper. So you can see how the paper comes here, and we've got that edge. We can draw a line, and we can use scissors to cut this rectangle off. Now what I do is I don't actually bother to draw a line, and I don't actually bother to use scissors because sometimes you can't find scissors when you want to make a perfect square. But if you do this fold first, what you can do is turn your paper over. So we've done this fold. Now we're going to turn the paper over, and we're going to bring that rectangle piece up like this. And we're going to fold it so that the edge of the paper matches the edge of the paper below. So this side of the rectangle is going to be matching this edge here. And I'm going to give it a good crease. I'm going to turn my paper over. I'm going to give it another crease. And I'm going to turn it back the same way and give it a third crease. And what all this creasing does is it makes it easy to tear this piece off. You want to put your fingernail right in the edge there. Maybe use scissors just to get it started. And then you can just pull gently to remove this rectangle piece. Now if you've never done this before, I suggest you use scissors and just cut that rectangle off. But what happens after you do this is that you're left with a long skinny rectangle and a perfect square. And the square can now be used for origami. Let's take a look at this long skinny rectangle. If we fold this the same way, so we're going to bring this edge up until it meets this edge here, and we want this point to be very pointed. So we're going to fold this down and hold it with one hand, and with the other hand we're going to crease here, and then we're going to turn the paper over, and we're going to bring this up so that this edge meets the edge of the rectangle. I want to make a very precise fold here, and then I'm going to turn it back the other way, crease it, third time, crease it, and now I should be able to just tear that right off. And that creates a smaller square. And I'm going to repeat that process again. I'm going to fold this up so that this edge will touch the edge of the rectangle. I'm going to crease it down, turn it over, and bring this up so that it matches the edge of the rectangle. Crease, turn it over, crease, turn it over, crease one more time, and then tear. And we're going to do that one more time. Crease here, and then I'm going to bring this up. I have a little tiny piece left over. Crease, crease, crease. I'm going to tear this off. And now I'm left with this little rectangle here. And we can actually do the same thing again. We can make this edge come up and then fold this back along the edge of the piece underneath. Crease once. Actually, with this small one, I'm just going to cut it off. So there's a tiny, tiny square now. And we've got this piece. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to cut off this tiny, tiny little sliver. And so from one piece of printer paper, I can make one large square, 3 small squares, and 2 tiny squares. And let's see what happens if we fold a piece of paper this size into the cat head. We'll have a cat head this big. Let's see what happens if I fold a puppy dog head with this size of paper. It will end up being this big. And if I fold the kitten, cat, with this size of paper, the head turns out to be this big. So that's a lot of fun. You can have lots and lots of fun with one piece of printer paper. You can fold 3 different sizes of heads, and you've got 6 pieces, so you'll end up with 6 different heads. So now I'm going to show you how to actually fold the dog and cat head. And we're going to start out with cats. So I've got a piece of paper here. These papers were bought from Hobby Lobby, and they are 6 inches by 6 inches. The first fold we're going to do is we're going to fold this into a triangle. And we'll do that by folding one corner to the far corner, and we're remembering that we want to make precise folds. Now this paper is white on one side and colored on the other side, and this is actually really good for teaching and for learning origami because it helps you make precise folds. So if I fold my paper like this and crease it down, I can see that there's white showing from the back side of the paper, so I know that I have not matched up my corners carefully. So I would want to try again before I make the crease. I can reposition these 2 points until they fall right on top of each other. And then I can hold that with one hand, and with the other hand I'm going to pull downwards. Down, down, down. So now I've made this crease. This crease changes the shape of the paper from a square to a triangle. And you should have the colored paper facing you and the white side of the paper inside if you're using this kind of 2-colored paper. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to fold this into a smaller triangle. So I'm going to fold this point to this point. I can turn my paper this direction, and this point is going to match up with that point. So if I fold it and crease it down like this, that's not precise because my corners are not matching. But see, I can move this until they match up nicely. I want the top corner right on top of the bottom corner, and then hold it there with one hand, and with the other hand pull down to make the crease. So now we've got another triangle, and we're going to open this up because this time we're using the crease as a guideline. And so what we've done here is we've made the crease, and we're going to use that to help us keep the two cat ears looking the same. So what we're going to do now is we are going to make the ears. And we're going to want to we'll turn our paper this direction so that the point of the triangle is facing upwards. And we're going to take one side of the triangle and we're going to fold it over. And we want to start our fold at the point where the guideline meets the edge of the paper, so you should be able to see your crease. You might not be able to see it too well on the video, but you should be able to see that there's a crease there because we made a crease and then we opened the paper up again. So I want my fold, my new fold, to start right there where the guideline crosses the edge of the paper. And this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to bring this up, and I'm using this finger to help me make that fold, to help me get that point right at the place where the guideline meets the edge of the paper. And I'm folding this upwards. And now what I want to do, before I crease this down, I'm going to be thinking about the distance from the top of my triangle to the edge of this paper, and from the bottom of the triangle to the edge of the paper. And I want them to be about equal. So if I folded it here, that's not equal because this is really short and this is really long. But about here looks right because this distance is about equal to this distance. Okay? And now I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I want to bring this side up, and I'm going to be looking at that point where the guideline crosses the edge of the paper. And I'm going to hold this with one hand or one finger while I move this end up or down. And again, I want this distance from the top here to the edge of this paper to be about equal as the distance from the bottom here to the edge of the paper. So that looks about right. I'm going to crease that down. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this down. So there's two sides now. I'm going to grab them both and I'm going to bring them down, and this is going to form the top of the head. I'm going to crease it right about there. And then we're going to turn our paper over, and there we have cat head. The two ears, the top of the head, the chin. And now we can decorate our cats. If you have a pencil, you might want to start out with pencil. And let's start out by making two eyes. I'll do mine lightly first. And then I'll take my black colored pencil. You can use marker pens. I've got lots of marker pens here too. I prefer to use colored pencil. Crayons work, marker pens. You could even use watercolors to paint the face on your cat. And I think I want my cat's eyes to be green. And now I'm going to make the nose shape. The nose on a cat, if we think about the shape, it's like an upside down triangle. So we can draw an upside down triangle. And then you can very faintly see my guideline still showing. You can probably see yours a lot better than you can see mine. But I'm just going to make a little line down there on the guideline. Then I'm going to turn that into a J shape. And I'm going to make a backwards J on the other side. And I'm going to color the nose. We'll make this cat's nose kind of pink. And then we can give it some whiskers. And there we have cats. Now I'm going to show you how to fold the puppy dog with the big floppy ears. And let's see, I think I'll make puppy dog gray. So we're going to start out in the same way. We are going to make a fold to turn this square into a triangle. Do you remember how to do that? Let's turn our paper over. And we're going to, this is the back of the paper now. You can see the white showing. And I'm going to take one corner and I'm going to fold it to the other corner. And I want this to be very precise. So I'm going to start by matching the corners. That does not match. I can see the white showing. I want to be careful to match them. And then hold with one hand, and with the other hand I'm going to pull down to make my crease. And don't worry if you find this difficult. When I first started doing origami, I found this creasing part to be kind of hard to do, to make it precise. But I've done origami for many years now, and it's very easy for me now because I practiced a lot. So if you enjoy this, keep trying and you will get there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this corner to that corner, just like when we were doing cats. So this part is the same. We're going to fold this, and we want it to match precisely. So I can see that that would not match, that would not match. But I can move the top paper until they do match, and can hold it with one hand, and with the other hand I can pull down. I'm going to make a nice crease. And this is one of those times that we've made the guideline. Okay, we're going to open our little triangle up to make the bigger triangle again, and we're going to use that guideline to help us do the next folds for the ears. We're going to turn our triangle this direction, and we're going to start working on those floppy ears. And it's kind of like doing cat, but upside down. So now we're going to be folding the ear down instead of up, and we're going to want it to start at the point where the guideline crosses the edge of the paper. So I'm using this finger here to help hold that in place when I bring this down. And I'm going to fold this so that this point that sticks out is about halfway along the edge of this paper. So what I'm doing is thinking to myself that the distance from here to here is about equal from the distance from here to there. So I folded one ear, and I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. And the guideline helps me to think about the distance between these two floppy ears, and it helps me when I draw the face as well to make it symmetrical. So now I've got my two floppy ears, and I'm going to turn this over, and I'm going to fold. So this is backwards now. This is the back of the head. This is the front of the head. I'm turning it over, and I'm going to fold this down. I'm going to fold a little triangle piece down so that when I turn my dog head over, his head is now flatter across the top, but he still has the floppy ears. And then I'm going to go back to the back of the dog head and turn this part upwards, and that will give him a more dog-shaped face, a puppy dog face. And we can put the face now. You might want to start out with pencil. I'm going to give him big puppy dog eyes. And a nose. And I'm looking at that guideline so I can get my nose in the center. It's not too far to one side or too far to the other side. And I can draw a line right down that guideline to put the mouth in the right place. And now I'm going to take my colored pencil and go over these lines. Give him a little black nose. Sometimes when you do the puppy dog, it's fun to make the mouth open or the tongue sticking out a little bit. The puppy dog is a lot of fun. I think it's fun because his ears are floppy and you can just imagine him running along with his ears flopping around. Now we're going to also put some spots on his ears. He's going to be a dog with spots on his ears. Maybe he has a little spot on his face too, right here. Maybe a little spot on his ear here. Maybe a little spot on the end of his ear. There we go, cat and dog. So if you have a collection of ink pens, this is a great thing to do with your ink pens. You can have a lot of fun decorating your cats and dogs. Now I'm just going to do this one more time for you with a big piece of paper. And we're going to make a cat head like this one and put some stripes on it. So let's go over this again. We're going to start out with a square piece of paper, and we're going to fold one corner across to the other side precisely. We're going to hold it, and we're going to crease that down. And if you made your big square from a piece of printer paper like the way I showed you, you'll already have this crease because we used that crease when we first made our square from the printer paper. Now what do? Do you remember? Now we're going to fold this corner to that corner. So we're going to be making a smaller triangle. We want it to be nice and precise. But this fold is going to be used as a guideline. So we're going to open it up again, and we've still got that triangle shape, but now we have a line down the center that we can use to help us keep the symmetry of the face as we do our folds. And we're going to do cat. So we're going to turn our big triangle this direction so it has a point on top. And we're going to start folding the ears up, and they have to start where your guideline crosses the edge of the paper. So I'm going to pull this and use this finger to start my ear at that point. And at the other end, I want it to cross over halfway along this edge, which is about there. Do a nice precise fold there. Same thing on the other side. I'm going to bring this ear up, starting at that point, and it's going to cross this edge halfway along, about there. And then I'm going to take, there's two pieces here I could grab onto. I'm going to take them both and fold them down. Increase it, and then I'm going to turn this over, and there's the cat head. Two ears sticking up flat across there, nice chin, and we can add eyes. Let's put eyes here. Upside down triangle nose, J shape, backwards J, center of the eye. And I'm going to go ahead and take my black colored pencil and go over these lines. Let's go ahead and put some stripes on this cat. So on the forehead, it's going to have some stripes coming down towards the eyes. And we can put some coming up here towards his nose from the side of his head. Put some on his chin. And we're going to finish off with some whiskers. There we go. Now I just want to do one more thing. I'm going to do the dog again, and I'm going to do the dog in this size. So let's do this together. Our square, we've already got that crease, the first crease that changes it to a triangle. And now we're going to make the smaller triangle by matching this point to that one, increasing down. And if you're thinking at this moment, oh, she's making a guideline, you are right. We're going to open this up, And if we fold it this direction, we get cat. So we're going to turn it this way. So now this is pointing downwards. This part of our triangle is pointing down. And then we're going to start by taking the edge of the long edge of the triangle, and we are going to start our ear fold at the point where our guideline crosses the edge of the paper. And we want this to be folded so that this distance from here to here is about equal as the distance from here to here. We're doing the same thing on the other side. We're going to hold that point and bring this, crease it down. So now you see the two floppy ears. And we're going to turn this over, and we're going to fold down the top of the head. So the dog's head is more straight across here. And the chin, we're going to fold this piece up so that it's straight across as well. And now we've got the dog with the floppy ears. So we can draw a little face on our little dog. Little nose. You can make this one a little tongue. And some, go ahead and put some spots. I like having the spots on the ears. And there you go. Origami, cat, and puppy dog faces. I hope you enjoyed this Kids Day episode, and we will be seeing you again soon. Have a wonderful time, stay creative, be careful, and stay safe. Thank you. Goodbye.